not only is there less women in this space, and a lot of times like they tend to be more front of the house. Like, unfortunately, I've had many situations where I feel like I really had to like prove myself, especially against like the homebrew bros. I feel like they know everything, and my passion's never been the brewing process. Like, my passion has been these stories, the community, the focus, and like, how can I be an expert in those spaces, in those ways, to have this conversation that I can maybe talk more about like the history behind the beer versus the brewing process behind the beer, because I don't have a lot of knowledge behind that because I've never done it. And that is like a big passion point of why I wanted to get this started, and why I wanted to get this started with you is, let's talk about those things. Let's give people this fun extra stuff to talk about that maybe they wouldn't know. Yeah. And it's this whole other area where you can be an expert outside of just brewing. You ready to party?
Yeah, let's do it. Party on, Wayne.
Woo!
Caught me off guard.
Woo! Hello!
Little Ric Flair.
Woo! Woo! Hello there, beer connoisseurs. Woo! We are here, and it's another beautiful day at Body by Beer podcast. My name is Chelsea Rhoads, and this here is my best friend.
Hey there, I'm Liz Hess, and welcome to the Body by Beer podcast. Today, we are talking about why we decided to make this podcast, the whys and the passion that goes behind that. Mm-hmm. Sidebar. Fun fact about Ric Flair, if you haven't watched his documentary. But he says in the documentary that he would drink like cases of beer a day, vodka, workout, right? Like he had the muscles and everything. Yeah. And that he claims to have slept with like 10,000 women.
That's disgusting.
Isn't that wild?
It's gross.
It makes sense why he woos so much.
Fair. Woo! I mean, it's fair. He was on something the whole time.
Yeah, I think he did a lot of blow too.
Yeah. Well, that is more of a wooer than beer tends to be.
Yeah.
But as per usual, we're gonna get this started quickly with our beer of the day, which is brought to you by a new brewery that recently opened up at the beginning of November of 2023, aka this year, called Monolith Brewing. This is a delicious stout. The owner, Steven, has won many awards. He's helped out other breweries. He's worked with other breweries. He's worked with other startups. He's won multiple GABF awards. Fantastic guy. We did consulting with them. We did marketing with them to get them launched and off the ground. And now they're spread their wings and have left the nest.
Right into a crowler.
Yeah. And so I had to go support them on opening weekend and got a beer, and we're drinking it now.
Yeah, shout out, Steven. It's very delicious if you're watching this.
Thank you, Steven.
Also, a really fun thing about Monolith and their mission. Yeah. Not only is Steven a great brewer, a great guy, he's got a great mission, a lot of talks and actions about sustainability, and 1% of the revenue goes to the Brew Like a Girl sponsorship.
Yeah, that's right. That's super cool mission of there. I love that you brought up the sustainable and the Brew Like a Girl our sponsorship program. It's fantastic fun. He's a really cool guy. He also sells decks of cards that have all the different breweries and little fun facts about them. All of that goes into the Brew Like a Girl and getting more women excited and into
about brewing science. Not just in the front of the house, but
like actual brewing. Where there's even less women. Yeah, well, thanks. Exactly. Thanks for the good beer. Thanks for juicing us up for this Sipisode. And with that, we shall dive right in to brew news. Brew news.
I'm just going to let you own that one.
Brew news.
Wow.
Thank you.
I was reminded of a cable guy there.
Fair. In our first brew news, we're going to talk about the Texas brewery, Shiner Brewing, out of Shiner, Texas, which I did not realize was the name of the town, but out of Shiner, Texas. Mm-hmm. They are still family-owned, independent, also really cool, famous for Shiner Bock, as you already probably know, but I did not know the family-owned and independent. They are launching their first ever non-alcoholic series called Shiner Roadie O, but I think it's a 0. So Shiner Roadie 0.
Rodeo, right?
Rodeo.
3.0 GPA.
Yep.
Roadie 0.
Yep. So they're going to launch the series. They're going to have a lager that's coming out. It's supposed to be pretty tasty, light, refreshing. They're also going to, which you'll be excited about, going to launch a red ale.
Yes.
You and your multi-love currently.
It's been a wonderful time of the year. It has
been. And to kind of segue from what we talked about last week with using your data to make decisions, they made this decision because there's a pretty big increased demand for non-alcoholic options right now.
Yeah.
In 2003, do you know how much it grew, the non-alcoholic sector?
2003 or 2023?
2023. Let's go with that one. So in 2023, do you know how much the non-alcoholic sector grew?
I don't.
It grew 17% in Texas alone.
Oh, wow.
Which is really cool. Like, I feel like that's probably not where people would jump to the stereotype of where non-alcoholic would have that big of a boom. And then nationwide in the U.S., it actually grew by 23%.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So, they looked at the numbers, they saw demand, and they're brewing some beers for it. So good for them using data.
I love that.
I do too. In addition, the director of brewing and operations mentioned that, honestly, the Shiner fans have been asking for an NA option for a while.
Cool.
So not only did they read the numbers, they listened to their people.
They read their people. They read the room.
Yeah, they read the room.
Read the numbers and the room.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Good for Shiner.
Yeah.
As I stated before, I love a good NA, especially a good lager. And I assume they're following like their typical brewing traditions and what have you. So it'll probably have some similar flavor profile.
Yeah, hopefully it's good. I will definitely give it a try. Yeah. And, as we kind of talked about before with the NAs having some contamination issues.
Sure.
I think getting bigger breweries and like this are going to just help get more NAs out into the market because they have more of the resources to ensure the best practices are being done. And
sure.
I think that'll be really valuable and impactful for continuing growing this specific sector. I think it's really awesome.
Very cool. That's a good story.
Thank you.
On the brew news front, this is specific to the Denver area, but Decibel Metal and Beer Fest is coming to Denver this weekend. 1 and 2, December 1 and 2.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday.
Perfect.
But I think the tickets are sold out.
So
You never know. They're I mean, we could probably always figure out a way to get in. Maybe we can get some media passes.
Ooh, probably.
Maybe not. But tickets open up last minute if you're into it. Long live Trogdor. Maybe not. So Decibel Magazine, this is the second consecutive year that they've come into Denver. They're also in bigger locations like Philadelphia and Los Angeles. So the point of the Metal and Beer Festival is to not just to celebrate music and beer, but also it's supposed to be a platform for fostering that local metal scene and community creativity.
So it's not just a Denver festival. It's a touring festival.
Exactly.
Super cool. Okay.
Yeah, very cool. But of course, a lot of great local Denver representatives are going to be there from the beer scene. We've got True Brewing.
Yep.
And Black Sky are participating.
Awesome.
And True is one of the first heavy metal influenced breweries in the Denver area. I think they opened up in 2012.
Awesome beer. Very good.
Awesome beer. Black Sky is super fun too. I've been in there a couple times.
I've never been in there. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm not surprising by the look of me, but I'm not a large heavy metal listener.
My favorite is getting into her and Kevin's car and it just randoms in the radio and it'll be like Ronnie James Dio and like Tech Nine will come on and they're like, well, I guess Lizzie was driving.
Mine's either Tay Tay or Xavier Rudd, and Kevin's string cheese, and then yours is 80s and Tech Nine, and we're okay.
I would have said angry music, gangster rap music.
Yeah, that pops up too. We have a very
I also really like Disney sing-alongs.
Yeah. Is it the punk Disney covers. That's a fun
That's
band.
not my favorite. It is fun though.
I do like
That's the Simple Plan guy, right? That did that.
No, I don't believe so. But
Bowling for Soup guy.
no, I think it's just his own. I think it's just his
It's
own
just his thing.
Yeah,
I think he sings. One of them. They probably both sing.
For what?
For the punk rock Disney sing.
Maybe it is
Punk rock Disney covers.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but I guess I don't know. I didn't know that the lead singer was famous elsewhere. I thought he was only famous for his punk rock Disney remakes.
No, I think it's actually like a punk rock guy.
Yeah, fair.
Anywho, so the Metal and Beer Fest in Denver this weekend, December 1 and 2. We've got True and Black Sky participating, but we also have some local Denver metal bands, Cephalic Carnage and the Munsons representing the Denver city. Fun fact about the Munsons. Are you ready for this? The Munsters.
Yeah.
No, I was going to do they're creepy and they're spooky. They're all together. Yeah, the Addams Family. The Addams Family. Now you gotta. It's like the metal Addams, except it's the Munsons.
I wonder if that's where they came from.
I don't know. If they comment, because I'm going to tag them, that would be swell. And they'll be like, you're silly.
You're silly.
But they'll say it in a metal way. You're silly.
It's like a Jack Black way.
Well, yeah, Jack. Twas I who slayed the dragon. Love me some Jack Black.
Peaches.
Yeah, exactly. So they, the Munsons, metal, beer, hot sauce. So they also co-own a hot sauce company called Sauce Leopard. Fantastic name.
Great name. Yeah.
Fantastic name.
I like it.
Less excited about their hot sauce name that they're presenting, but it is also fantastic. They're presenting a new hot sauce, and it's called Ass Gasher.
Ooh.
Gasher.
Gasher. That sounds awful.
Gasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've seen like ass blasters and like ass burner hot sauces, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense for a hot sauce. Not like
Gasher.
Like, yeah. Like
ooh. That's like
no, it just sounds awful. That sounds awful.
That's like blowing your O-ring.
I don't know. We don't need to go there. We don't need all that.
Just saying.
I avoided saying like using the bottle, like
Oh man, but good for them. They're apparently doing well.
Yeah, totally. Also, love a hot sauce.
We did go on and read the ingredients for Ass Gasher. It was a habanero, so you're probably not going to gash.
It was like a 6.5 out of 10 is what they graded it. It's not even that hot.
So it's a burner. It's like a slow burner. Yeah. Congratulations to them. I love the name.
Love a hot sauce.
Yeah, if you want to send me some, that'd be even better. Love spicy food. Love spicy food. You remember that chicken wing contest? And it like burned the skin off of my lips.
Yeah. I remember the hot wing place that I took you to that I was like, these are the hottest wings I've ever had.
Where was that at?
In Rapid City, South Dakota.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're still open, but I don't even know the name of it. But they were so hot that one, as we were like ordered it, some random guy comes up just dripping sweat, and he was like, you guys just ordered those wings? Those wings are so hot. You're crazy. You can't order those.
There were no Ass Gasher.
Apparently. But they're just like, you can't order them. And I'm like, it's fine, man. I've had them before. And they show up, and I'm eating them. And I'm like, oh, man, these are hot. And Liz gets like, I don't even know if you got to the first one.
I think I made it through one.
And she just bolts. Just leaves the table. And I was like, oh, well, kind of got her. And I'm just chowing down, trying to get through the 6 wings, because, you got to eat spicy stuff quickly.
You do.
And this lady comes around the corner, and she was like, hey, is that your friend in the bathroom? And I was like, I don't know, probably. She's like, oh, she's in there scrubbing her tongue with wet paper towels. I was like,
which made it worse.
So I chowed down and went in there, and she just has a wad of paper towels on her tongue. They just look so sad.
It was sad.
Laughed at it, came back out. I finished my wings, and because we have a slightly competitive friendship, she was like, all right, I'll call you your 6 wings, and I will eat my 6 wings as well.
Yeah.
And then slowly died as it
I do remember slumping
gashed
over.
out of our body.
Oh, gross. Gross. I think we can only take it that far. But I do remember slumping over in the booth and being pretty miserable.
Oh yeah, I went white. I was gonna puke, and I was like, just don't puke it up. It's gonna be probably worse.
A couple years later, I evolved into just eating chocolate donuts if it was too hot.
Yeah, that'll dilute it out. Pepsi, we learned Pepsi. We actually did
or Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper, yeah.
Yeah.
We did the hot wings at Quaker Steak. We did that competition. Easy. It was like a video, and we're just like watching basketball. Eating away.
I don't think I've made that challenge. I feel like I've always tried to hang out with the cool kids in the spicy realm, but I was probably like, it's like you take a shot. That's great. I probably threw it on the floor behind me.
I was just eating. I just know when the lady showed up and she's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. She's like, what are you saying? I was like, I could use some celery. And my tongue was like numb from the hot that I couldn't say it. So they're all laughing because I'm like, celery. It's like, what do you want? I'm like, celery.
Celery.
And eventually we got through it. Anyways, those are our hot wing stories. That's all we got. Obviously, I don't eat hot wings anymore.
Yeah, I do miss the all-you-can-eat Wednesdays.
We never ate enough.
No, but it was fun. I think it was good price at the time.
We had people with us that did.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that one guy ate like 40.
Yeah, we got like 49 or something.
That's insane. You know who you are, Justin, if you're listening.
Justin, you know who you are, Justin. It's true. It was impressive. It was a gross amount of wings, but hey, do what you gotta do.
Do love a good hot wing.
Mm-hmm. All right, so hot sauces,
metal
music. It's gonna be a fun weekend. Shiner NAs. So
what else is happening?
We're at the end of the month, and so getting into December, we've got holidays going on in December. Some kind of
all the holidays,
kind of fun ones.
Whatever holidays, happy holidays.
Ideally, we've got Repeal Day.
Ooh.
On the 5th.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Yep. So Prohibition. Mm-hmm. Lager Day on the 10th. That'll be fun. We'll get some facts and some stories about the lagers, which is also apparently the third most popular beverage after water and tea. I think it's just beer in general. Boston Tea Party Day. Anniversary. It's probably anniversary.
The anniversary.
On the 16th. And then obviously you've got like Christmas and holidays. Those flagship holidays at the end of December. Yeah. I don't know. You got anything fun going on outside of those holidays?
Well, I'm not going to celebrate the Boston Tea Party. I might think about it.
Can we have a tea party?
No. Anyway,
I'm
going to head home for the holidays, hang out with the family, nieces, nephew. It'll be a good family gathering.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think we're going to do some pheasant hunting. Yeah. George is going to teach me how to shoot a muzzle loader.
Cool. That'll be fun.
Super excited about that. It's actually even more fitting with the Boston Tea Party. They were loading muzzles.
That's fair.
Yeah.
See, you're going to be celebrating in your own way.
Maybe some tea. I doubt it. I'm more of a coffee drinker. I do like tea, though. But yeah, what about you?
Nothing too big. Some in the air plans, some like post-New Year's plans, but yeah.
I think you're supposed to come hang out, right?
Well, ideally, but we're waiting to see how that all pans out. There's a whole gaggle of you going to be there,
yeah.
so...
I gotta find more room.
Yeah, I gotta find more room. Otherwise, we'll probably go up for at least part of it. Go see my fam up in that area as well.
Awesome.
Those birthdays on the 22nd. So,
Oh, 1 year old.
1 year, yeah.
I would like to be there for that. Anyway, are you getting anything fun or special that you're asking for holidays?
Yeah, holiday stuff. Kind of already got it picked out. Already got it purchased in the old Black Friday deals. And yeah, then that kind of.
Well, if you need, I'm all about the celebration. As long as the people are there, it's good company, good food, good drink. I don't really need anything. I'm very grateful for gifts, but I don't know what I would ask for. I have a lot of things. I can't hear you.
An ass gusher? Gasher? Gasher?
Bringing it back. I hate that you brought it back. But if I were thinking about a as a beer lover, what I would like. I stumbled across in my Google Alerts, Bon Appetit put out a top 10 beer lovers Christmas gift ideas.
Yeah, cool.
And the only reason why I really got into it because it was the number one gift they recommended. Do you remember when we went to New Terrain a couple weeks ago and they had the spike and they put it in the hot coals and then we put it in our stout and it frothed all the way up?
Hot beer.
Beer. So they have a link in this top 10 beer lovers gift. It'll be in the comments. If it's not, make sure to let me know. I might have just forgot.
Yeah.
And you can buy that. I guess it's really big in Germany. Makes sense.
Yep.
But you can buy that. And anyway, when you put it in the beer, then it caramelizes the residual sugars and you get that foam. You remember? Oh, it was so good. Yeah. And I can't remember the guys' names from New Terrain.
Yeah, they were great.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah,
we had so much fun.
They warm up this skewer in
there you go.
Poker. Poker in the fire. And then they put it kind of at the top of the beer and swirl it around, and the heat creates like this huge thick layer of foam that warms up, and that foam ends up being really warm while your beer stays for the most part pretty cold. And as you're saying, it caramelizes the sugars, so it's kind of like it almost creates like a foam marshmallow. It doesn't last super long.
Exactly. You got to get after it.
I would say
but you
like
can always
2
go
minutes.
back.
You can go back. They said it kind of gets less and less each time, but like I would say like there's like a peak optimal like 2-ish minutes, minute and a half where like that foam is just thick and it's warm and it's so flavorful.
It's going to caramelize the sugars, but more importantly, it's going to cause it to foam up. Foam's going to be hot, beer's going to be cold, so you'll want to dive right in and get that contrast hot. You ready?
Right, I'm ready. It smells so good.
Dude, true. That's perfect.
Yes.
And just all of like the chocolate and
it was so good.
Sweet flavors come out
So
of
much
it,
fun.
and the aroma is like packed full. It was really, really fun. They were doing it with like sours, and they were also doing it with like a pilsner. We didn't get into those. We just did a couple of the dark beers.
Stout and a porter, I think.
It was really fun. So So is that what I'm getting for Christmas?
Well, I guess maybe. It might just be like some rebar that I may put a handle on. But I could probably spend some money, I guess. Yeah.
Go grab the
I don't know
end
how.
off of like a fireplace at a campground.
Exactly. Thank you very much. But I wouldn't steal from a campground. Also, there were some craft beer advent calendars around the area. I don't know if they're out. I think you had to pre-order them, but
Like they come with a full beer.
exactly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, crack a beer per day.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I like that.
Yeah, no worries because dry January is coming up. You really get after it. Put the season to a big hoorah.
Oh yeah, nobody goes onto a diet on Monday and is like eats salads over the weekend. You hit it hard. And that's like December.
Yeah.
That's like end of November to December is just hitting it hard. And then you're like, okay, I should probably take a break.
Yeah. I think it's a great segue into our main segment, why we started this podcast and what we love about beer.
So we're going to dive right into our main segment.
That's right. The heart and soul.
Oh.
The heart and soul of our love for beer. Why? The tradition and the unique quirks that brought us here.
Yeah. So for me, the things that I really like about the space that really drew me in was the history and the art of craft beer and the community that comes with it. Beer's been around for a really long time, and I feel like a lot of times it kind of gets overlooked as just like this college drink. And I think there was kind of a time and place, and there are beers for that. But like once you really get into the craft, there's so much history behind beer in general that it's one of the oldest drinks out there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like beer's been around for 13,000 years, and it was around before bread. Like, that's so wild to think about. That
isn't it safer, or wasn't it safer back then to drink beer? Back then, being like, what'd you say, like 13,000 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, even much sooner than that, like alcohol, because the process behind it and the alcohol in it and the ingredients like actually helped like sterilize the water, so it was safer to drink than water, and so it kind of became the main sustenance for people. And it was thicker; it was more like porridge, so it was a bit more. It was more like food.
Right.
And so like even like the
Liquid bread.
Egyptians, yeah, like Egyptians used to pay their workers in beer. Like it was really low alcohol. It wasn't meant to be like the fun social drink that it is now. But I love those pieces of it. I love the community that it brings in and how the craft space is just like such a big family. Like
It really is.
I love that aspect. I mean, I feel like nobody really feels like they're competing against each other. They're trying to like fight for the bigger good of just craft beer being this big, beautiful space. And I love that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the most part, there's no competition, but without a little competition, you also don't get as good of results.
Yeah. No, there is. It's just not as like cutthroat. It's not like
progress.
cutthroat. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's
not
more of-
cutthroat.
It's like a frenemy.
Cutthroat.
Very
Cutthroat.
frenemy.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have partnerships and collaborations. For sure. Speaking of, Collab Fest is coming up in January. March.
End of March.
Samsonite. End of March.
Yeah, end of March.
But we are going, right?
Here we got tickets.
Sweet. See you
Pretty
there.
excited. Also, Black Friday sale. Thanks.
Oh.
Thanks, Brewer Guild. $10
Nice.
off.
Brewers Guild, yeah. Yeah, same. And it could be, so growing up, my family owned a bar in small town South Dakota. And I remember like one of the favorite parts that my dad would share with us, or like my grandpa, would be the stories with their bar flies, right? They called them bar flies. That's nothing new. A lot of people have heard that. But it is a sense of community, and whatever that is, right? Like we'll get into it. What is it about a gathering and having a beverage? It doesn't, especially in today's day and age, they're saying, hey, we don't always need an alcoholic beverage to sit and have a conversation. Yeah. But oftentimes that's how it's been. So for me, it definitely starts at a very young age. I grew up with a jukebox. I grew up with a pool table. I grew up with, old war guys sitting at the bar drinking Budweiser and PBR Light when that was still a thing. You know what I mean? I think that was like my grandma's favorite beer. To your point, is that community, and what does it mean to sit around and tell random barstool confessions or celebrate? So you're telling your war stories, or you're celebrating an event, right? Oftentimes so beer was seen way back when, take us back, as more of a poor man's drink or just a way to sustain. Whereas you often bring up where wine is often the star of the show when we think about pairing or the complexity of creating.
Which I would say is like a big passion piece for you, right? Like the food and the beer pairing part. I mean, you're so good at cooking and then pairing these things together. Like I would have a hard time believing that wasn't a big piece for getting your draw into this space as well.
Absolutely. So it's not necessarily about the brewing science. It's more like, here's these amazing craft brews and here's some amazing foods. What happens when we combine two supernovas together and we slay the dragon? You know what I mean? They're like, no. Some of you do. Yeah, absolutely. That's totally a passion point. Like, I want to get on here. And I mean, we've been doing this for years. Why not? Like, we're always just sitting around talking about it. Why wouldn't we just start recording it and sharing those stories and that passion? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's a piece that I've left bartending a handful of times and always come back, because honestly I miss it. Like I miss that being behind the bar. I miss seeing the people. I miss seeing people excited to see you, and kind of hearing about the days. The piece that I've always found different about being in a brewery versus like a bar, and not to like try to like point any fingers or like shit on anybody, but like when I think of like a bar, like the drunk at the end of the bar, they're like, is a very different viewpoint than people sitting at a brewery. That it feels more like they're there to be with their friends and family, and they're there to be part of a community, not they're there to like drown their sorrows. And of course, like that happens. I'm not gonna say that never happens, but in general,
not
like,
always the case.
Yeah, but in general, it has more of that feeling of people are just there to like socialize and be part of something bigger than just their day to day.
But they too share that. They too share that love for craft, right? We're talking about craft, so people appreciate the complexity of the recipes. I mean, not all recipes are complex, but the love and the art of shaping and creating these great brews that go out. People like talking about that, right? Like I mean,
being part of something unique, and
yeah,
special.
absolutely. And to your point, it goes beyond just I'll have my regular lager, or I'll have my regular whiskey Coke, or I'll have my Coke, right? Maybe just a Coke. But
I feel like Campbell summarized it really well. One, she had that Hefeweizen that brought her back to home.
yeah,
It was such a cool story. Like if you need like a story to rejuvenate why you're in the craft beer scene, that story just warmed my heart. But then in addition, like she talks so much about the community and how different that community is of like you go in and it's like cheers. Everybody knows your name and you've got your people and you're there because you don't know who's going to show up. And like usually I feel like the breweries are a little bit smaller and you see a lot of your same repeat people and you don't know who you're going to like ebb and flow and see. And it just creates this nice, lovely group of people that I love it. And I definitely go through waves where I miss it. And so instead this is like, what do you talk to these people about? And like, for me, like having that passion of not only is there less women in this space, and a lot of times like they tend to be more front of the house. Like, unfortunately, I've had many situations where I feel like I really had to like prove myself, especially against like the homebrew bros. I feel like they know everything. And my passion's never been the brewing process. Like my passion has been these stories, the community, the focus, and like how can I be an expert in those spaces, in those ways to have this conversation that I can maybe talk more about like the history behind the beer versus the brewing process behind the beer, because I don't have a lot of knowledge behind that because I've never done it. And that is like a big passion point of why I wanted to get this started and why I wanted to get this started with you is let's talk about those things. Let's give people this fun extra stuff to talk about that maybe they wouldn't know. Yeah. And it's this whole other area where you can be an expert outside of just brewing. Also, like if you're an entertainer, right? I feel like perfect. Yeah. Great way to put that. Yeah. I mean, you definitely talk about an aspect of entertaining. I mean, not only, right, we're always talking about senses, or I am, right? Like you're visually seeing you go and pour this beautiful beer, right? And then it comes back to me and we can talk about it because enthusiasts are also excited about the art of it, right? Sure, you have maybe your 4 or 5 staple beers on, and maybe you've got enough room for 4 or 5 experimental beers. So you as a brewer get to be very artistic and creative in the recipe process and what you're going to put out for people. And I think that's another like huge reason why people come into the craft brew scene, because they're like, well, what do you got this week, right? Like what beers you're releasing, like that's incredibly exciting. Yeah. Now you combine that with you behind the bar, the bartender, the entertainer, right? Like you get to present it and make it a showstopper, right? Yeah. Like walk it on the catwalk. Like how does it look? Walk it on the catwalk. Body by beer, like let it shake a little bit. You got to move the hips. I just want like the stop. Was it the stop go animation of just like this like tall Pilsner glass like doing this sexy catwalk down the bar? Would you like to talk to me about Pilsner? The foam flies out. Can you make that cartoon happen? I think that would be pretty great. I could try, but it's probably not going to turn out about as good as me actually walking a catwalk. With a Pilsner and you like spill it over your shoulder. You're like, oh, that's bad luck. Break my ankle because I'm wearing heels. Yeah, so the entertainment, the artistic approach to it, right? I think that goes far beyond just, well, this is what I'm used to, this is what I like. And I'm all about that, right? Because there's a great community and being able to go down to your local bar and just be like, you know what? I really like beer. I'm going to have a beer today. And they have a classic like bar food menu. Nothing wrong with that, you know? And 'tis the football season, right? Like that's a perfect place to incorporate not just beer and liquor, but like beer and sports, right? Yeah. And you get to relate on a level of beyond just a simple taste. It could be a simple taste in a recipe or a simple taste in a recipe. And we also gather here with our family friends for a sporting event or whatever, or just to say hello. Whereas traditionally, historically, like I know you put out some good videos. I mean, people have been gathering for time over time, and time over time, there's always an alcoholic beverage involved, whether it's beer, spirits, or wine. Yeah.
Again, if you're talking over war stories, because you made it back from the battlefield somehow, back when they were pulling the big swords and daggers. Can you imagine getting your leg chopped off with one of those things? You would celebrate.
No.
You would come home and celebrate after a large war campaign. I don't know really how I got there, but I was thinking about that earlier. And like,
Because you were stuck on metal from the Metal Fest.
the metal is inside me. The fire burns
What
from
else
within.
is metal? Swords.
Well, you got to have a good blacksmith around, for sure. Forged in the fire of metal. So this right here is also really a huge part, like that banter, right? Like you go, you have a beverage. Maybe you just needed to laugh that day, or you wanted to tell a story or hear a story, right? Like, lie to me. I don't care. Like, tell me something about your day. Like, that was always like one of my favorite parts, is being like, oh, hey, how's your day going? And you're like, oh, pretty good. It's pretty easy. I pour a beer. People lie to me. Like, whatever. And I don't mean that in like a bad way, but right. Like, you love stories. Maybe you exaggerate stories. I definitely do that. But, that sense of community is whether you just needed to talk to somebody, or maybe you had a story to tell. And sometimes people are just down and gone.
I always like telling people when they'd come in and be like, oh man, I had this really bad day, but I don't want to talk about it. And I'd be like, oh good, I really didn't want to hear about your shitty day.
That's a good bartender.
Like, oh good, I didn't want to hear you bitch about it for the next 20 minutes.
And either you got like the wide eyes, or they're
you
like,
only say that to people you know are gonna laugh at it.
Well, it depends on your day too.
Would not recommend that as an opening line to a stranger.
You never know; it might crack the seal, break the seal.
Yeah. Break the seal.
Pretty cool.
Those are. I mean, those are the reasons we love the industry. That's why we got into this, and why we wanted to keep talking about beer and giving hopefully some people some fun facts and fun things to talk about, and some food pairings, and kind of spark this deeper history in things that you go into work and you can be like, hey, we released a Doppelbock, and here's this crazy story I heard about this Doppelbock, and people love that. They love hearing those stories.
Do you have a crazy story about a Doppelbock?
No, I think the Doppelbock one was like the scraping out of the tanks, right?
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be the shit beer.
Yeah, well,
but
yeah,
it's really
clean.
not.
It's the clean guck of the tank beer.
Yeah.
It's the leftover guck that pops out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what a funny story for the next time you pour a bock, you're like, hey, do you know? This is the guck from our tanks because we finally cleaned them this year.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just, for us, it was, how do we keep that spirit alive and get more people excited and involved in the space?
And from arguably a different perspective, right? Like that front of the house, entertainment, excitement perspective. Maybe not so much about the brewing science, which we're all about, right? Supporting those who support that. But there's some really great, and I'm sure if you've seen them, but there's some really great service industry TikToks out there that kind of poke fun at the roles behind the bar, behind the counter, behind the apron, so to speak. But although we're pretty funny, not funny on that level that we can produce that content every week, but to lighten on our perspective, you can totally cut this because I'm just rambling, but that just front of the house entertainment and history.
We found a lot of videos that talk about how to brew this beer and the brewing science behind this. And we're not brewers, so we didn't really want to focus on that. We wanted to focus on, we loved being front of the house, and what are the things we loved about it, and what are things that I know other people love about it. Like, we'd go in and release a new beer, and one of our fellow coworkers was like, well, why did they name it that? And I'm like, I don't know, let's look it up. And we found some fun story. And that was the story we told everybody through the whole shit, because it gave us something fun and unique to talk about. And honestly, as much as I love that part, the job in itself, it just, you can kind of run out of some stuff to talk about. So instead, here's some new fun things. I love looking up different quirks about beers to talk to people about.
Absolutely.
Give it something fun.
Absolutely.
For me, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm here.
I have a fun fact for you, fun fact lover. Did you know that the strongest beer in the world has an ABV of 67.5%.
No, and that sounds awful.
It does kind of sound terrible.
Sounds like it's gonna
It's more
burn
like
the
a
whole
spirit
way. Yeah.
than a beer
Yeah.
for sure. So it's called snake venom.
Appropriate.
Yep. Yeah, fair.
It's gonna kill you.
It's brewed in
Don't
Moray.
drink it in a pint.
Ooh, maybe just like 2 ounces. So it's brewed in Moray from smoked peated malt.
Murray. Sorry.
Moray. Using 2 varieties of yeast, 1 beer, 1 champagnon.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was
that's
wondering.
the only French I know. And
Oui.
what's that?
Is it oui?
Hui. So apparently, like other high ultra beers, what they do is it's frozen several times after the fermentation process, and then the ice crystals are removed.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before the segment, and initially when you said it, I was like,
I don't get it.
that's super weird. Why would you do it? And then I was like, oh yeah, because you can remove the water by freezing. It's actually like a really elementary way to like remove water. from stuff.
Concentrating the alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I never had ever thought about that's how you can concentrate alcohol.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really,
Snake venom.
really simple.
You can Google that. It's out there. Oh, you don't have to put hot sauce behind it because I don't think it's as graphic of a Google search.
Yeah, make sure.
yeah, I guess you never know.
Don't forget to put sauce behind the Ask Asher.
Ask Asher
Slasher.
hot sauce. Not Ask Asher sauce.
Hot sauce.
Ask
Yeah.
Asher. Well, I don't know. Good luck.
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Just don't send us screenshots of what show up on your Google. We don't want to know.
One more, since you're a joke lover and a fun fact history buffet. I have a joke for you. Are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ready. Based on the look on your face, I don't know if I've had enough coffee for this joke.
We could have more coffee or more beer.
Yeah, fair. Also helps.
Why did the beer go to school?
I don't know.
Because it wanted to be a little brighter. Brighter.
Like you drink a burr? Like you drink a burr?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Oh, well, that's all I got.
I feel like
Writer.
like
Beer writer. Writer.
why did the beer start an Etsy store?
Why?
Because it wanted to be a craft beer. See, I just made that up, and that's way better than
That is way better.
Brighter.
I spent like 30 minutes on that joke, if you believe it or not. It took me at least 20 minutes to add the 3 extra R's into brighter. Ooh, what if I add another R?
Beer writer? Is it supposed to be beer writer?
Beer writer. Burr writer.
No, I still don't get it.
No,
but I
whatever.
kind of like the Etsy one now.
Good one, Chelsea.
Thanks.
That's funny stuff.
That's wild. We can probably give you better news than we can give you jokes.
Fair. So you got jokes. You got trivia.
I could probably come up with a trivia or two.
Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose.
With the Repeal Day coming up next week.
Tuesday.
December
05.
Wanted to kind of build up the hype around that over the week. It started approximately in 1920. There are some states that implemented it earlier, like Colorado specifically, actually started it around 1916. And then went till 1933 is when it got repealed on December 5th. So we're at the 90-year anniversary of this.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And last week we talked about the ales versus lager based on being over 4%. So I think like that was 11 years ago. So it was like 79 years that stayed in play.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't even make any sense for what actually makes an ale versus a lager. What did breweries do that survived? So
what did they do?
When this started, there was like 1,600 breweries. By the time...
That's a pretty big number for 1920.
Yeah, like a lot of breweries. Then by 1933, there was only like 100-ish left.
Ooh.
Well, it makes sense. It's 13 years. Metal sword.
Sword to the
heart.
heart.
So yeah, like 13 years at like a minimum. Like, what are you gonna do to keep the doors open? And it's like, so
What'd they do?
I was like actually kind of surprised there was a whole 100 left. So it's gonna be some of your bigger names. There's no surprise. We've talked about Anheuser-Busch plenty of times. They're up there. Pabst is there. Coors. Some more like the local, like bigger name brands as well. But those are kind of the big ones that popped up. And you gotta give it to Anheuser. They came up with 25 different business models over those years to stay afloat.
So wait, so Can't Brew Beer.
Can't brew beer.
They came up with 25 other business ideas because they couldn't brew beer in order to stay afloat. So I assume successful.
I mean, successful enough to be floating.
Keep the lights on.
They might not have built a boat, but they didn't drown.
They didn't build a yacht, but they built a canoe.
There you go. Oh yeah, sounds much better. I like that. Oh yeah, so 25, which I was very surprised. It's a lot of businesses, and their big focus was, well, we have this machinery. What can we do with the machinery? And that was a lot of different places. So oddly enough, a lot of them ended up in like dairy type of businesses. So like ice cream was a relatively big one. And that was Yingling. Yingling was a really like popular ice cream that they actually probably did the best with the ice cream.
Nice.
And they didn't sunset that until 1985. So
Best year ever.
And Liz was born and they're like, no more ice cream for you. So, and they did bring it back in 2014 for a little like, woohoo, haha, just for people to have. So dairy products were really popular. Different things you'd use with the malts
like
and the grains.
Too?
Malts and grains, cheese was part of it. They made malt syrup. And that malt syrup would be used for like candies. And so they kind of had the whole segue in the candy space. Miller was like the syrup provider of Mars for a lot of years.
Wow.
Pabst did cheese. Then they had a whole like dairy farm that they were a part of. And Coors out of Colorado here actually made a ceramic company that to this day is the biggest ceramic manufacturer in the world.
What?
They bring in almost like $2 billion a year on ceramics.
Beer money.
It's called like Coors Tech. Coors like TEX. No, TEK, Tech.
Isn't that who Olivia worked for?
I have no idea. I knew no idea all this stuff. So like, what a cool.
No, I think she actually brewed. Anyway.
Yeah, like what a interesting. We've got a lot more. We're gonna do a decent like longer video on it. So we'll get some more facts out about that. But that was really fun and unique way.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's easy to like knock on the big guys and everyone being like, oh, like Anheuser-Busch, they're big. Of course, they
come
survived.
from somewhere.
But man, like, imagine being gritty and creative and enough endurance to have your entire industry shut down for 13 years.
Right.
And then come up with 25 other business models. Like, you got to give it to them. It's kind of like people that hate on Tom Brady. You got to give them credit, man.
Yeah.
Like, the more and more research I get down and like read about the stuff they've done, they always pop up and like, they've been through all of it, and it makes sense. They've been around for so long that they've been through every wave of this industry. But wow, that's such a mind-blowing. Like, most people can't even get one business off the ground. 25.
Well,
shocking.
To go along with that, next week we're going to talk a little bit about Sam Adams again. They're celebrating their 250th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
What? They're releasing a super fun beer. Excited to talk about, but I won't spoil it.
I can't. Like,
I think it's really cool. I think it's a great fun fact. You didn't disappoint. Your jokes are pretty good. Your trivia is pretty good. I'll give it to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been working on all the things.
Good job.
I'm still like all jazzed about like all these other little businesses.
I'm excited to see the video.
Yeah, I can't wait to make the video. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. Excited.
Cheese and ice cream.
I mean, it makes sense if you think about the equipment that they had, right? You're already in a processing and distribution facility. Process and distribute.
Great. You want to know the other piece that
don't give it all away.
You're not going to have like thought about that. You're like, yeah, they've got the machinery. Refrigeration.
Oh, duh.
Duh. Right?
Refrigeration.
Again, you don't even think about it. Then you're like, oh yeah, duh. Of course they have that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? And that's what I did. It was, duh, that makes sense. Anyway, I was not going to give away anymore.
Shoot, dang.
There's the trailer to our next video.
Oh, I like what you did there.
Yeah, thank you.
I like that a lot.
Outside of now that we've historied it up, we're gonna get into our next segment that I'm pretty excited about. I was briefed on it a little bit, and we're gonna get into our brews and bites.
Bites and brews.
Bites and brews is what it's called.
No, I think it's actually brews and bites, but I just like saying things backward. Makes me feel like I'm a part of the introduction.
Cream cheese.
Cheese cream.
Cheese cream.
But speaking of cheese and beer and how synonymous they are with one another, they're a very symbiotic relationship.
Is it because they're both delicious?
Yeah, that's it. And that's the end of the episode. Thanks for joining.
Just string cheese dipped in your beer.
Oh, yeah. I have a fun fact. Do you know? Oh, I can't tell you yet because I got to introduce the beers and bites. So otherwise it kind of didn't make sense. So low-hanging fruit, and blame it on football season if you will, but I'm doing a good old beer and pizza pairing.
It's like one of the best, right? Like,
is that like the American dream or what?
I
mean, if you don't like beer and a lager, you can get the fuck out right now.
Beer and a lager or pizza and a lager?
That's what I said. Pizza and a lager.
I said beer and a lager.
Same.
Gotta throw the red flag. We'll replay that. See what she said.
If you don't like pizza and beer, get out right now.
Get a red flag.
No, you don't have to leave, but you can't stay here.
Yeah. Like, I feel like it's like burgers and beer, nachos and beer, and pizza and beer.
Yeah, I love pizza.
And I think pizza and beer is my favorite. Then I go nachos and burger.
Nachos and burger.
Burger.
All right. So it is beer and pizza. It is the quintessential American comfort food pairing. That's why we're talking about it. Also, I really like sports, so football season. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And they're always showing a pizza commercial. It doesn't matter if it's Pizza Hut, Papa John's. Well, they lost their sponsorship a couple years ago, but whatever. Fun fact. Do you know
Why they lost their sponsorship? I'm just kidding.
I'm not getting into that. In a pizza commercial, you know where they pull the slice away from the pizza and the cheese is all ooey and gooey, and you're like,
the reason you burn your mouth eating pizza is to recreate that to the best of your ability. Yeah, it's about, I get it. I know
they put glue in the cheese.
Yeah. Oh,
I think you told me that.
Yeah, make it stringy.
Stretchy pants.
Yeah.
Stretchy cheese.
Yeah, I did like a photography food thing at one point, and so they came from that, and
That's
I was
what
like, oh my god! But I would still eat it even with glue in it.
Depends on the glue. How toxic is it?
The pizza?
Is it like 2%, 5%?
Yeah. Is it Elmer's glue? It's fine.
Oh, that's delicious too. Just kidding.
Delicious.
Depends on what age group you're in.
the glue stick.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. No, I like to really just get after it. Squeeze
it's like
it in.
the whipped cream, but it's like gross anyway. Sorry.
Actually, if I ever find myself in a hot wings challenge again, I'm gonna try some Elmer's glue to cool my mouth down.
That would be so funny. You're like, actually, guys, hold the celery and hold your Dr. Pepper. I can one up this.
Elmer's glue. Where did you come up with that? Well, in my dream, I knew the ingredients for glue, and there's a cooling effect in the epoxy. Oh, that's lovely.
That's lovely.
Yeah, gained a lot of following that day. Yeah. Time after time. So my favorite
food pairing: pizza and beer. We're focused.
Pizza and beer. Pepperoni pizza and a beer. So when it comes to selecting the beer, we're gonna get a couple different options here. But what you want to consider are the few key flavor profiles. So the richness and the greasiness of the cheese and the pepperoni. Okay, you got that. And then the acidity and the sweetness of the tomato sauce. Running at a high speed.
sweet Body by a Beer sweatshirt. Makes a great sound when
Thank
you run.
you.
It sounds like
Thank
you're running
you.
at an incredible rate of speed.
Thank you. If you want one, let us know. The merch store isn't up yet, but it will be. Okay. So we're talking about senses, right? Always talking about bringing it back to our senses. So you have already probably imagined that sight and sense of smell, as we mentioned, that disc of cheese and tomato sauce floating your way.
Imagining it right now.
Yeah, so could be hints of memory, or maybe it caught your eye on the TV, whatever. It's all going to engage those senses. So some beer styles that we recommend going with your pepperoni pizza.
Okay.
Wherever you get it from, your local wood-fired pizza place, Pizza Hut. I like a Pizza Hut. Domino's, Pop John's. We already talked about that.
Or
Okay.
like a local
local-
wood-fire pizza oven
Absolutely.
place. I'm a big fan of those.
I like Woody's in Golden.
Oh, what is it called?
Now I get to shout them out too. Yeah, truly hands down favorite in the area. I'm sure most people have been there, but if you haven't been there, please go.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Okay, so while you're there, maybe check out a pale ale. Why a pale ale? So the hop bitterness and the malt sweetness can cut through the richness of the cheese and meat. All right, we're going back over here.
Okay.
And while the hoppy notes can enhance the spices and the pepperoni.
Oh, fun. Okay. So the pepper is going to taste like a high-quality pepperoni.
High quality.
High pepperoni.
Right. Bringing it back. All right. And so this one's for my hop head lovers out there,
Okay.
IPA drinkers. You already know what I'm talking about if you are one of those. And it's a bit more bitterness and a hop forward profile. So that bitterness of the hops in an IPA, it contrasts, right? So now we're going this way instead of this way with with the greasiness of the pepperoni.
Okay.
Yep. And then the beer's citrusy and or piney notes, they add that extra layer of flavor to each bite.
Okay.
So it's like pepperoni times 10.
Metal.
Long live Trogdor. All hail to the king. And as mentioned earlier, classic lager and a pizza. I think when a lot of people think pizza and beer, that's where they go. They're like,
Yeah.
you know, that's the American dream right there, especially a Pilsner style lager.
I think that's where I tend to go. I like the light crispy
Yeah, for
of
sure.
it. Like I feel like I often pair also with like I tend to compliment and try
Yep.
to like pop the hero.
It's easy, right?
But then I feel like I do weight. So like
Okay.
if it's like a heavy meal, like I
And a
struggle
lighter
doing
drink.
stouts and like desserts because they're both
But you
so heavy.
could.
I know I get why you can, but like I'm just not that into
Sure.
that for me personally. So it just becomes too much. So like to
It's
me
easy.
to think of like pizza with the cheese and all the big flavors into a
That's a
pale
big
ale sounds
Comfort
like
food.
exhausting. Like, it just seems like it'd be too much. Where I want the weight of the lager for me personally. I
And-
like that big.
And I'm going to bring it back from weeks ago. Like, do a flight. And you can go through the spectrum of everything,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like,
decide what you like the most. Because
Yeah.
it totally can change.
well, you're going to notice the different aspects, right? Is
Yeah.
it complementary? Is it contrasting? Is it bringing flavors together? Is it pulling them apart? Is it making them more rich or more bold or less bold? So that lager has that clean and refreshing, lighter taste.
Yep.
So it balances
Okay.
your
Yeah.
point, the heaviness of the pizza. So yeah, that's an excellent choice. But last but not least, she brought it up. You got to give a shout out for your adventurous seeking drinkers. Maybe it's a little heavy, maybe it's a little metal, maybe it's a one-way ticket to midnight. I don't know. Try a stout or a porter.
Okay.
I'm probably going to. I definitely go down that path
Yeah.
more often than not. So the roasted malty flavors.
Yeah, makes
Yep,
sense.
yep. You already know. They bring out the smoky flavors and the pepperoni.
Oh, funny. I was gonna say maybe like a smoky beer, but I get why maybe
It brings
like,
it out naturally.
Yeah. Okay.
Depending, right? You got to build your palate up to it, right? Some of you might drink and be like, I don't get it. It tastes like metal. Well, shit. That sucks. But
Probably
you
not
would
a
get
very
there
good
if you
beer.
went down it. That's why always going to recommend a flight. I don't care. You can go through that flavor profile transition,
Yeah.
right? You go light to go a little bit heavier. But remember, the key to any great beer and pizza pairing is the balance.
The balance.
Complement, opposites attract, right? You complement, you contrast, you complement, you complement, you contrast. That's okay. these are some great options to go down that road. So any of the beers that we mentioned, they'll have the potential to cut through the richness and fattiness of the cheese and pepperoni.
Awesome.
And then, of course, we're missing maybe the obvious, but the carbonation also helps cleanse the palate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely would have looked past that one.
Very exciting.
But it makes sense. Yeah, we've talked about doing like highly carbonated beers like Pilsners with like greasier food. The fish beer.
And just washes it away.
Kind of help clear that out. That's right.
Exactly.
Makes sense. It always makes sense. It always comes back around.
Yeah.
Good food pairing. Gives
Thank you. I'm hungry.
I feel like pizza's easy one, and I'm sure there'll be people that eat pizza this week.
Absolutely.
Maybe Sunday.
Maybe they're taking a break from stuffing until you got to eat stuffing again.
That is right.
This is the great stuffing break.
This is great stuffing break. No more turkey.
That's actually what I named it originally today.
Oh, I like that. The great stuffing break.
But not everybody eats stuffing, so it's not always applicable across all realms. Anyway.
Anyways,
we did it.
That's it. That is the Sipisode of this week. Thank you all for joining once again. We love your support. Thank you very much. Like everything, the followers are growing. We're getting more viewers. Keep giving us feedback. We love knowing what's working, what's not working, what you love hearing. Follow us on all of the social medias, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. In addition, if you want to listen to just the podcast or watch the videos, they're on anywhere you see a podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. They're all there. We're working hard trying to keep improving every video, and we love all of the support, and we can't wait to see you guys next week. And that's what we got. That's a wrap.
Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye.